Hello, dear students. How are you? I hope you are well. I am also well. This is Sanjay Pal, lecturer, Department of English, Government Rajendra College, Faridpur. Today, I am going to teach you Robert Frost. The name of the poem, The Road Not Taken. I hope you try to realize this poem. Okay, welcome to my lecture. Have you any idea about these two pictures? I hope most of them know those pictures. This is Robert Frost. One picture is his young, and another picture is his old age picture. Now we are going to watch a video about Robert Frost. I hope all are watch this.
Robert Frost is one of the most widely read and beloved of American poets, as well as one of his great.
Sorry.
Robert Frost is one of the most widely read and beloved of American poets, as well as one of his greatest.
Four-time Pulitzer Prize-winning poet, Robert Frost was a national celebrity, famous for writing poems about rural life using American colloquial speech.
Robert Frost is well known for a few poems that he managed to lodge in everyone's head. Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, also Mending Wall, and The Road Not Taken, of course, is probably the most famous of all of his poems.
Well, most people associate Robert Frost with New England. He was born in San Francisco on March 26, 1874, and he moved to New England at age 11 after the death of his father.
Frost began writing poetry in high school, where he met his future wife, Eleanor White. He briefly attended Dartmouth, then went to Harvard in 1897, but left before graduating due to illness and his wife's pregnancy. After Harvard, Frost took up farming.
During this time, he lost two children to influenza, and he wasn't a very good farmer. The farm did not thrive, but his work thrived.
While Frost was able to get a few poems published, he was unable to get a book published. So in 1912, he sold his farm and took his family to live in England, hoping to find better luck with publishers.
Within a few months of arriving in England, Frost found a publisher for his poems.
The first book, A Boy's Will, was reviewed rather quickly by none other than Ezra Pound, who gave it a very favorable review.
Shortly after World War I broke out, Frost moved back to the United States and settled in Franconia, New Hampshire, where he wrote and began his long teaching career, starting off at Amherst College.
Robert Frost was really the first bard on campus. He taught at various universities: Amherst, Michigan, Harvard, Dartmouth, Middlebury.
He moved around a lot. He was in and out of universities, and as he used to call it, barding around.
By the end of his career, Robert Frost was showered with honors. He received over 40 honorary degrees. He also received the Congressional Gold Medal and 4 Pulitzer Prizes.
At the age of 86, in 1961, Robert Frost was asked to read at John Fitzgerald Kennedy's inauguration.
The land was ours before we were the land. She was our land more than 100 years before we were her people.
At the time, it was as much an honor for Kennedy as it was for Frost.
Robert Frost died in Boston, Massachusetts at the age of 89 on January 29, 1963. Poetic to the end, Frost's tombstone read, "I had a lover's quarrel with the world."
When Amherst College built the Robert Frost Library, Kennedy agreed to give the keynote address, and it was one of the great speeches of his presidency. In that speech, Kennedy wrote, "When power corrupts, poetry cleanses." He was thinking very much of Robert Frost as a poet who spoke truth to power.
Robert Frost felt very strongly about form. He once famously said, "Free verse is like playing tennis without a net. It ain't tennis." And Frost was tennis all the way.
Okay, dear students, now uh, now we read out about Robert Frost biography. Robert Frost, in full name Robert Lee Frost. I hope all students try to read this page and note down the important information, because this information is very much important for your viva, and it is also important when you face any job exam. So you note down this important topics or important year, etc. So Robert Frost, full name Robert Lee Frost, and he was born in 1874 and died 29 January 1963. So these are important, and another things is important. He was an American poet and also a modern poet. These are also important. One is American poet and another is modern poet. So here is another important thing. His depictions of the rural life of New England. That means these are his characteristics of his writing, and which item or which things he tries to show in his poem, in his works. So the major works of Robert Frost. So I think you try to read this and note down this and memorize this name of his poem or his work. I hope okay. I think you read out. Okay, life. I give you 2 minutes to read this para, and I also hope that you note down the most important things to face your exam or viva. Okay, I give you 2 minutes. Please read silently. And note down. Sorry. Okay, I hope you read out. Okay, we here is Robert Frost father's name. This is important. And his profession, it is also important. And the reason of his father's death, this is also important. And Robert and his sister, this is also important. And here is another important line where he started his education and grew up. This is also important. And and it is another also important line. And he fallen in love. This is also important. Okay, I hope you note down this and also read out this. Okay, we are going to next page. Okay, you read out this silently, and I also remark the important line. First you read out. Okay, I hope you read out this. Okay, achieved professional publication, this is also important. The year is important, the name is also important. And printed poem, this is very much important. My butterfly and elegy, it is very much important. This is his first professional publication. The weekly journal name and the poem name, those are important. I hope you note down this. Okay, this is also important. He and Eleanor married in 1895. This is important, the age of his marriage. Then his occupation, his profession, teaching in a school, farming, those are important. Okay, during the next dozen years, 6 children, the number of children 6, but 2 of whom died early. This is also important. Okay, the name of Robert Frost University and year of his okay, I hope you note down. Then works of Robert Frost, I hope you read out this. Works of Robert Frost. Okay. Early books, his early books, this is and late 19th century, the romantic verse, and his concept, which concept he followed, and mentored in a poem, A Boy's Will, entitled Storm Fair, and later it is his very much famous poem, stopping by woods on a snowy evening. It is his very famous poem, so you should remember this poem name. Okay. Okay, please try to read out. Okay, this is very much important. Mustard, blank verse. Blank verse. He is a mustard of blank verse. What is blank verse? This is in iambic pentameter. Okay, modern poet. I also say this. He is a modern poet. His chief technical innovation, this dramatical dialogue poem, was to unify the regular pentameter line with the irregular rhythm of the conversational speech. First, blank verse has the same tersions and consonants. The mark okay. Okay, please try to read out. Okay, we also I also said this American poet, 20th century poet. Already we discussed this. Okay, this is important. He gained broad acceptance as a national poet. That means he is a national poet of America. Okay. Okay, please try to read out. Okay, it is true that certain criticism of Frost have never been wholly refuted, one being that he was overly interested in the past, another that he was too little concerned with the present and future American society. This is very much important. He was overly interested in the past. He is overly interested in the past. He write down his poem about the past. Another that he was too little concerned with the present and future. In his poem, he discussed the present and future very rarely case. Those who criticize Frost detachment from the modern emphasis, the undeniable absence in his poem of meaningful reference to the modern realities of the industrialization, urbanization, and concentration of wealthy, or to such familiar items as radios, motion picture, automobiles, factories, or etc. The poet has been viewed as a singer of the sweet nostalgia. This is also important, and social and political conservative who was content to sigh for the good things of the past. Okay, that means he tried to remember his past. He tried to remember his past. Okay. Okay, try to read out. This is important. Mm, I also. Okay. Okay. This is important. Only the road not taken, published in 1915. This is important. Okay, you try to read out the whole passage. Okay. This two question is very much important for you. Do you know Robert Frost wrote the poem The Road Not Taken as a joke about his friend? And another thing is, Frost was the first of only 5 poets to recite a poem at a USA presidential inauguration. Okay, this 2 point is very much important for you. Okay, background of the poem. It is very much important. If you do not know the background of a poem, you don't realize the whole poem. You don't realize why the poet writes this poem, or what is his purpose to write this poem. So I think every student should know the background of the poem for better realization the poem. Okay, Robert Frost wrote The Road Not Taken as a joke for a friend, the poet Edward Thomas. When they went walking together, Thomas was chronically indecisive about which road they ought to take, and in retrospect often lamented that they should in fact have taken the other one. Soon after writing the poem in 1915, Frost grieved to Thomas that he had read the poem to an audience of college students and that it had been taken pretty seriously, despite doing my best to make it obvious by my manner that I was fooling mea culpa. However, Frost linked to quick. I am never more serious than when joking as his joke unfolds. Frost creates a multiplicity of meaning, never quite allowing one to supplant the other, even as the road not taken describes how choice is inevitable. Okay, setting of the poem. I hope today I am going to finish today's session, and I continue my lecture the next session in this page, the setting of the poem. Okay, thank you, my dear student.